Turn off your camera too. Hey, and welcome to Understanding Politics is Made Simple. Where's my co-host, Mr. Floyd? I know you're there because you were just there.
Okay. Okay, Tish. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Today is Thursday, August the 10th, 2023, and we are here to just talk shop and to really get into the gritty in the city and the word on the curb. But before we do that, Mr. Floyd, do you have any announcements for the people in our listening audience that they need to be thinking about in order to govern themselves accordingly over the next week or so?
Well, the NAACP is going to have this 32nd annual membership banquet, and that's going to be at Fort Liberty on September I believe it's September the 16th, and the doors are going to open at 5 o'clock, and the program going to start at 6. And
Okay, and
so this is the 30,
who can people get
any
tickets
person
from?
uh, that they can get tickets from Miss Hunt, and they can go to the NAACP website, I believe, and get better information than I can provide for them. But it will be because when it comes down to money, I don't want to be the one
I
that
know that's right.
gave gave the wrong information.
Collect your own money,
Yeah, yeah.
huh?
Or tell them how to pay their money and who to
Absolutely.
contact. They can get that from the NAACP office.
Absolutely. Um, it is, we are smack dab into what some people have traditionally called silly season, which is that time politically where we start seeing all the things going on, right?
Well, this is election time. I believe Fallon was closed something about a couple of weeks ago,
Hmm.
and we have, I think we have three races that are going to be primary,
Right. So we've
and I
got the
think
mayor's race, District 2 and District 5.
that are going to be primary. And
Hmm.
I believe we are going to do something as it
We
relates
are.
to try to get these individuals to come and let introduce themselves and let the public know what their platform was going to be about.
Absolutely.
Showing that it can also help educate the public as they go to the polls in November.
Absolutely. So we are hosting something that is called Fayetteville Upfront, and it is going to be in, of course, and that's because we are the, and so that's going to be an opportunity for the mayoral candidates, for the candidates for District 2, and the candidates for District 5. Anybody that has a primary to do exactly what you just said, and that is going to be on September the 14th. It will be streamed on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page. I did have a conversation um radio station, and they are going to pick it up and air it on their station so that we can give the maximum opportunity to hear from their elected or their potential elected, to see where they're coming from and where they're trying to go. Because, so those invitations are going to be going out to every candidate involved in a primary. It will be up to them whether they choose to participate or not. We are certainly encouraging participation because citizens deserve to hear from their candidates. And we know that typically a forum, quote unquote, is usually held after the primary, but we know that people need to be able to know how to make a decision in the primary all. And so that's why we're doing early voting, you guys, September the 21st. So before early voting, to do your due diligence and make a wise to consider. We saw that one Malik Davis has had a recently from the with the exception of the incumbent Shaquilla Ingram. She is ramping up her campaign efforts a lot, or at least the conversation is swirling around a lot between the three of the mayoral candidates. I haven't heard much yet from Gribble, but we're hearing a lot from hearing a lot going out on behalf of Mitch Colvin. In fact, they both already started running. We're seeing ads. I'm seeing, every day on an ad for Freddie De La Cruz. So they are really ramping up those efforts. I haven't heard much yet, but I think that is a very competitive race also. So, I mean, Mr. Floyd, it's definitely interesting.
Well, the thing that I've seen here with our local candidates, it's some kind of way they want to pick and choose which uh, form they want to participate in. Uh, but I I see it as, I mean, most forums are done where uh, you know the host does not allow a lot of intimidation, if you understand what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's straightforward, answer the question, and they don't allow a lot of back and forth. That's not what our form would be consist of.
Right.
Basically, what we
And
want
we've
you to
even
do, uh, basically what we want you to do is that, once the moderator reads you the question, you have X seconds or X minutes to answer the question, and then we move forward to the next person, and so on, down the line. It not will be a bashing party. It will be a
right,
forum to educate the people.
right. And we've
So,
made the decision to be the moderator because we do
no,
recognize that there are people who, based upon prior interactions with us, would decline just because they think we might have something on my shirt. Yeah, we got them. In reality, that couldn't be further from our desire. Podcast understanding. That is the whole premise of Upzone. So even with this candidate forum, our desire is to make understanding politics simple. We want it reduced down to the lowest common. Come on, present your information. We want you to talk about your platform. And in my estimation, Mr. Floyd, the only reason a candidate would decline this invitation is if they don't have a platform or a position to talk about. Because
well,
that would be the only purpose of not wanting to talk to our audience. And I think that you all need to encourage participation by your elected and by your those elected, because you deserve to be from them. We're not trying to build themselves. I think, Mr. Floyd, both of us probably go to bed and sleep pretty well at night on the reputation that we've established.
every night, every,
Right.
every night, and and a lot of time, people, when you run for office. Now I can see if you that there's a form that people come in there with hammers. It's different. Yeah, then I might not want to go to that forum and participate in that forum. But where I see that it's an open forum, which would allow me to participate without being in a hostile environment, then that's the forum that I'm going to attend. But what I've seen, I remember last year, you know, we extended invitation to two other persons that's running
Yes.
for office, and
We
and
were
and we,
effectively ignored.
you see, and but yet still you're running for office. You're running in the area of the city, county, and state, but yet you think you're too great to participate in a simple forum. I think
Right.
that that was some message to the public that you are not totally committed to the growth of the community. You
Right.
talk about it, but you're actually
And let me present an alternate of what it says. It's and I hold grudges. Not effective leader. That is not effective. Going to lead. It's been plenty of times, Miss. I've had to swallow my personal feelings in order to perform professionally. And I think that this is recognize that this is a professional invitation. It is not inviting the candidates to dinner, to go for cocktails, or this is a professional invitation. And we'll just leave it at that. And every single candidate, a primary, even though we are not bound by equal time rules. Let me be very clear. We are not bound by the FCC's regulation where equal time is concerned. We could theoretically talk to who we wanted to talk to and give them our platform as their own. Not that we are binding ourselves this to that principle by extending the invitation to everyone. Now it's your decision if you accept the invitation or not. Now,
well,
you go.
One thing that when I served in the General Assembly, but we said that I don't like this bill, but I'm gonna hold my nose
and vote for it.
But there's some things in there that I like, so I'm gonna hold my nose and cast my vote for it.
And you just gotta hold your nose and go on the podcast.
But we'll welcome those individuals to come to broaden their base, really.
The other thing that I started is I wanted to say hello to our third co-host, Theodore Moan, who is still reading in up north with family. And I do want to tell everybody that I did have occasion to say a couple words to him, and it was really nice to have a little chat. I also, and I told y'all, if y'all miss him like we do and you want to send him well wishes, you can inbox, you can post. We will make sure he receives your kind words, because the one thing that we all know is life happens, right, Mr. Floyd?
It does.
It happens, and as it's happening,
no person knows.
That's right. That's right. And be sitting down for a little while because life happens, and so I just want to make sure that we are honoring our third co-host. We are looking. I'm and text messages asking about our co-host, and I just want to make it very clear: we are not. He is irreplaceable. We are waiting on him come back to the program with us, because we need our data guru, and we need we need the guy, but that we need him to be well. So heal well. See you when we see you, friend. So let's what's happening at the city. I start with the conversation that is very near and dear to you, and that is first. Let me say this too. I forgot. Floyd Nero cast up. Like, there are people intrigued by what he had to say, and they were so intrigued by the energy between the three of us. It's been a long time since we've had somebody come on that we all want to talk at the same time, and we all are so passionate about what's being said that we all want to jump in. So thank you for recommending that we have Nero on. That was a great segment. If you missed it last week, go back and watch. Nero, community guy, he talked stuff, and yet is supporting Freddie De La. He articulated every reason why he made that jump ship from the Dem to the unaffiliates. And I'll tell you, Mr. Floyd, we got room for you. We can take over.
Nero made a statement in the opening, that he said the reason why I changed because what I saw you did to you.
That's right.
And that was the reason why he changed. I am a Democrat, but I think that in order for the Democrat to grow, it must look at all of the Democrats, because we have lost over 500,000 Democrats in the last decade.
I think you're going to continue to lose, though. I think y'all are going to continue to lose Democrats, because even think about, and I'm going to tell you what. Remember when they did Caitlin Evans dirty, Judge Evans? They put her opponent on the slate. The Democrat left her off like she wasn't a Democrat. And because we were right snap dab in the middle of the political conversations, we were seeing this and hearing this, and Caitlyn hadn't done anything to anybody. Proud of her, and I said because she smashed her opponent, but it was political. Her opponent was somebody who was already. It was like, we're gonna go ahead, and I don't know what that was about, but my mom was like, and I don't want any parts of it, and that's why she. So exactly where Nero was coming from.
That you know what? Uh, even Thompson, who entered into the race for governor,
Yes.
he mentioned Geez, that he is going to seek the unaffiliate to help him become governor of the state of North Carolina, and he has ties to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. But my point, my point of it is, you cannot run the same game that you ran for the last 30 or 40 years. You have to change your game plan in order to grow. Any CEO, once they see that they have lost revenue,
Yeah.
there's a change that's going to be made. You don't have to wait for it.
You got to do
There's
something
going to be,
different.
you know. So I think that's what is happening and taking place there. And Nero, he he did mention that. So I respect him because as we move forward into the political arena, we're gonna need Democrats, unaffiliated, Republican, Green Party, or anyone to help us move our agenda forward. We just can't be locked into just one party. We need each other in order to help our community grow.
That's right. That's right. So now, Mr. Floyd, let's talk about what's going on at part that I said was near and dear to my heart. When we talk about these donuts, what's up with these donuts? What is the city saying? What are they saying about these donuts? What is the 411, Mr. Floyd?
Well, they're looking at affordable houses. They finally start getting some traction in affordable housing, and a lot of it is going back to rehab and renovation of existing projects.
And interestingly enough, looking at these old and they're rehabbing these, which is, I mean, I gotta say this. I think it's very intelligent. It's very smart because either you're gonna have a rundown hotel that attracts a very seedy crowd, or you're gonna renovate it and use it as short-term housing, which is, you know, really smart.
I think, like I said, it's a good idea because construction costs, as you well know, is at an all-time high. But it hasn't slowed down, but it costs more to build. So I think that that's
Absolutely.
a good idea for the city to look at, and also renovation of existing home and properties. And then the other thing that's there in the city that they are going to be, I know it's going to be a heated issue. I mean, not a heated issue, a concern.
Mm-hmm.
That is I think Mrs. Shaw term to expire on the PWC.
In
Uh,
September, and so they're going to be looking to replace her. And let's listen. Put a pin in that for just a second, because when we talk about that, I want to kind of go to what I've queued up for us to let play. But before we move to that, Mr. Floyd, so with the affordable housing and the donut holes, do you think that the city is demonstrating a viable plan? Do you are when you're looking at this, are you saying this makes sense and this should move the way it's moving?
well, I think that as an example, one thing like if people have projects and people have pet things they're concerned with. I have always been concerned about the Shaw Height annexation, or annexation, or
You
even
and Ted did a lot of work on that.
yeah, which Ted worked with me on that as a legislator. The reason
Which is
why
so interesting because Ted's district was so far removed from Shaw Heights. At the time that you were a legislator, should have been an initiative that Mitch would have been spearheading because Shaw Heights is right in the middle of District 3.
and that's the concern is that when you look at economic development, And what Ted and I we came to agreement on EJT, and well, annexation would have took place. I think it was 2020, which the city could have came back and said we have not advanced our EJT further enough to determine how we want to retrofit that community into our overall plan. But the
Right.
key thing of it is that Shaw Heights lies between two major interchanges,
Yes,
Bragg
Bragg
Boulevard
Boulevard and
and
Murchison Road.
Murphy Road.
That's
Now,
right.
Shaw Heights is going to grow with or without the city.
That's
Now,
right.
if it grows without the city, it's the revenue loss that the city is going to lose, but providing the services.
Right.
They will provide the services because we did that as we looked at revamping the PWC charter.
Right.
So when you look, you must have a vision about how can we grow revenue, and that's way of growing revenue. Some said uh, that Shaw Height would have jumped in front of the Big Bang annexation. Not
Right.
so, not so. But if the city do not address the donut holes, when corporations begin to look at where they want to locate, they look at they look at this whole map. Why is this community not in the city? Why is this
Absolutely.
community? And we have about 10 plus donut holes.
Kathy has said numerous times, Councilwoman Jensen has said a number of times that her district holds so many donut holes. And she's right, because even when you go down in the Pine Forest area, it's a donut hole right smack dab right there. Boom, donut hole. So and for the audience, what we mean when we say donut hole is the donut refers to the city of Fayetteville. The holes are the unincorporated areas. And there are these little pockets of unincorporated areas that are surrounded by city, but it's like this little, like it might be a little neighborhood. As an example, that neighborhood that he was a house rep Zoka lived in, donut
Mhm.
hole.
Yeah.
But these are, and from my understanding, that was the one that blew it for he was like, we're y'all are not annexing us, and he and held the line.
Well, Tish, uh,
Gates
you know,
4.
that's gate four. Gate four, when the city did its Big Bang annexation, they should not excluded gate four. They should
Absolutely,
have
it
brought
should have
gate
been
four
included.
in a part of it, but they was afraid of a lawsuit.
Right.
So gate four got a nice tax base,
Right.
but it's not in the city.
Right.
And and by virtue of doing the Big Bang annexation, the city of Fayetteville has just about stopped in the state of North
All
Carolina.
together. All together. Now, Mr. Floyd, you're talking about generating revenue. Now, one of the things that now I'm gonna go back to what you were saying about Miss Evelyn Shaw. The reality of our community is we have a short duration of time whereby we need to figure out a huge amount of money that we got to make up in our budget, right? So one of the things, and I want to point everybody back, I got to take my glasses off. One of the things that I want to point everybody back to was the conversation that was sparked when I resigned from my position. A huge part of my resignation was the conversation about selling our utility, and or maybe not even selling, a concession agreement with our utility with a company called Bernhard. I talked a lot about the relationship of Bernhard and an attorney, Jonathan Thompson, and the mayor, Mayor Mitch Colvin. I talked about how they were having these conversations outside of the permission of the governing body, that council at the time. City View Today researched what I said and found that I was accurate about what I was saying. If you have any questions, if you doubt what I'm saying, go read the City View articles. While City View I gotta say this, while each time they always said that there was no evidence of corruption found, that I need to remind everybody that a newspaper does not typically have the authority to dig into they can't subpoena documents in order to really identify corruption. So they're not going to find corruption unless they've got the smoking gun, but they did find inappropriate conduct. With that being said, I want to remind everybody before I play this, Mr. Floyd, the biggest issue that I highlighted was the involvement of Jonathan Charleston with the utility and with trying to structure, like trying to manipulate and maneuver council members to do his bidding in order to build the ability to stack the board, right? Mr. Floyd, what does stack the board mean for the purposes of our audience?
That means to put in place a group of people that will share your idea, that will combine your ideas.
And that have the power to carry out your vision, right? Okay. It's not necessarily a nefarious thing unless there are components that make it nefarious. Okay. So, in my estimation, the components that make this particular stacking nefarious is the fact that if this moves forward, Jonathan Charleston is the bond counsel. Bond
Wait a minute,
counsel,
now, wait a minute, now. He is the bond counsel now, but that doesn't mean that the new counsel has to continue to utilize his service if the if the if the new board, which there's rumorville now, that there may be some consideration again to do some kind of communication with a different group to sell PWC. That
same
doesn't
but
mean
different. Let's say it like this: same but different.
well,
Same but different.
I
Because
bet
I'm still, look, I was born Tisha with a different last name, but I changed my last name, but I'm the same, but I'm different.
but
You are correct. You are
that's what
correct.
rumorville is because again, Evelyn Shaw is being reappointed. I mean, it's coming off.
It's time for her to come off. So, Mr. Floyd, what I'd like to do with your permission, I want to share, and I would like for our audience to take the time and just listen to this. I'd like to share a clip. And as I share this clip, I want you all to remember what I just articulated about stacking the deck, okay? Because this is what I mean when I say stacking the deck. Can you see this, Mr. Floyd?
Not yet. Yeah.
You can see it now? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and press play. You let me know you can hear it. No, we can't hear. Hold on. Okay.
You there, Jonathan?
So this is Jonathan Charleston on WIDU on Visions Radio Talk Show, and he is addressing the new CEO of PWC. So I'm going to play this. You could hear it, right?
I can't hear it.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good
How you
morning.
doing?
I'm good. I was excited to read the newspaper yesterday to see that Public Works Commission has hired a new CEO. And I'm sure you guys have seen that. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can. Keep on.
Okay, yes. PWC has named Timothy Bryant as the next CEO and general manager. And it's a very exciting thing. Mr. Bryant is from Goldsboro originally and is a graduate of North Carolina State University. He's a professional engineer with just tons of experience with very large public utilities. And he happens to be the first African American to lead the PWC. So that's a pretty exciting thing. Highly qualified, incredible experience and track record in leadership positions with some of the nation's largest utility companies providing, power generation, electricity, and other things like that. So this is a really big deal. And that effort was led by the PWC board that consisted of Don Porter, who's a retired full-bird colonel here, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. You have Evelyn Shaw, who is the CEO of Shaw Food Services Company and a member of Delta Sigma Theta. and you have Chris Davis, who is a professional engineer by training, retired military, and happens to be a member of Omega Psi Phi. And then, of course, the chairman of the board, Rona Garrett, who is an incredibly talented person at PWC in her own space. The four of them led the effort to bring this very talented individual to Fayetteville, and I think it's something we should all be very excited about.
Yes, it's really good that we do that, and then highlight the history point, and then highlight again the opportunities that we have to succeed at those points. And so each one of us, as we sit here today with Mr. Gary Smith from NASA, it is great that history is made again with him being able to go to NASA and head up to Hubble. And now that we have this new Timothy Bryant coming in to do as well at PWC, maybe I get the two brains together and have them create something new.
Well, I think you're right, and I think the important thing about this is that in both of those situations, you have extraordinarily talented people that just happen to be African American, but they're extraordinarily talented people and entrenched in their communities where they were and where they came from. And now, with Mr. Bryant, I'm sure he'll be entrenched here in the city of Fayetteville. But these guys are really incredible individuals, and it's just really exciting that we have these kind of opportunities now in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. I love this. I love what it does, or what it shows and says for our people. I love what it does and shows for the youth, that you literally can do anything. And
so it's up to us to continue to encourage, as we already know from talking with Mr. Gary Smith, and then we'll be reaching out to Mr. Bryant, because I know he'll be interested in doing those same kind of similar things. People know when you see what you can aspire to and the person looks like you tend to go a little faster and a little further, because you know it's possible. When you don't see somebody who looks like you don't know if it's possible. So it is possible by seeing Mr. Bryant. It's possible by seeing Mr. Smith. So young people, it's possible. As T.D. Jakes said, it's possible, it's possible, it's possible.
And in the words of my good boss, he said, we all win when we attract and use great talent. And he wants to point out that both people that we have spoken about have contact with A&T.
Any closing words?
Yeah.
Any closing words, Charles? Ms. Charlton?
Well, I would say this, that all of us, I'd just like to say that the young lady is absolutely correct, and what Wes was saying about greatness. And what I will say is this: we have to work hard as individuals to force ourselves into positions that we never were supposed to be in the first place. And then when we get there, we just act like we own that space. In other words, you never can be in the game unless you first get on the floor.
Pay
you miss
attention.
100% of the shots you never take. And so when you see talent, again, like this, we have to create an environment where we can attract that kind of talent. And I'll take it back to the work, of city council, because I believe you will clearly know that in order to get to Tim Bryant and others like that, you have to have people that are open to that kind of person in the first place, right? And so that means you got to be in the game. You got to have people in key positions that can make that happen.
In order to get to people like Tim Bryant, you got to be in the game. You have to have people in key positions that can make that happen. You got to stack the board. I was so excited when I heard this interview, Mr. Floyd, because I said to myself, he is telling the people everything you've been saying. Here's the unfortunate part about it. The people probably will not recognize it as such because we've become delusional in the Black community to believe that Black leadership equates success. We believe that when we see people that look like us, it means we've arrived. When in reality, and Nero said it best, these people on the board look like us and haven't done anything for the community that they came out of. This stacking is not about making the utility better for Black people. This stacking is about making the utility more accessible to the people who are trying to come in and do the concession agreement. And none of the people that sat on that board looked like me or you, Mr. Floyd. The people that came in and spoke to us, they brought in somebody who looked like us, but those are not the people who stand to make the biggest dollars. Actually, I take that back because I think it's two people in our community, and I'll let people decide who they think those two people are. But I think there are two people in this community that look like me and you that we see and hear from regularly who stand to make a great deal of money off of a concession agreement with the utility. But
I,
it's not us, Mr. Floyd.
I think when you look at it, and you have a body that gives you X amount of $1 million per year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That now I didn't say loan to you. I say give you from the revenue that is projected there to help you reduce your budget, meaning that you don't have to raise taxes in order to grow. Now this is an annual thing that they do. So why would I want somebody to come in and manage an organization that I'm already generating money for? And then they tell me that there will be zero cost. I'm just trying to figure out how you gonna manage and don't want to make a profit.
Mr. Floyd, you tell me, and we'll both know. But the reality is, and here's the truth of the matter, the reality is that's not reality. And I know that some people may be like, why is this important? Why is this important? It's important because as we move into this election cycle, one of the key questions that should be really focused to each of the candidates is where do you stand on PWC? What is your frame of knowledge as far as PWC is concerned? Where do you stand on a concession agreement or a sales agreement? And how do you support your position? Like, what information are you using to support your position? I don't know if that will be one of the questions that our moderator will ask. We're opening the floor. If you've got questions, send us your questions. We'll most certainly take a look at them. But Mr. Floyd, this is important because it spans back the last 2 years to what I've been addressing. It highlights the consistency of what I've been saying. Don't forget the dogfight that it was to get Chris Davis appointed. Don't forget the dogfight that it was to get Porter appointed. Now, let's see what kind of dogfight we end up in when Evelyn Shaw comes off the board to get somebody appointed in her place. Don't forget the dogfight it was to get Evelyn Shaw appointed. See, and follow the track record because they say it's always been like this. I don't believe it's always been like this. I believe it's been like this since, because see, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let it go for today. Jonathan Charleston is a genius. He is a genius. You can't take that from him. You cannot take the level of intellect with which he works away from him. He is strategic. He is intelligent. He's a genius. What happens when you are that smart is you often can outsmart people who don't think as quickly as you do. And you also have a level of patience that allows you to play the long game. You're not playing today, you're playing the long game. So this is like, think about a master chess player. They can look at the board, they're not thinking about their next step. They're not thinking about the next play they're going to make. They're thinking 5 plays ahead. This man has been, if it plays the way I think it's playing, that would demonstrate that this man has been lining this up a long time. A long time, putting people in place. He knows when these terms end. He knows who's where. He knows who's who. He knows what's what. He's very tied in. He's very connected. Don't take for granted patience, intelligence, and strategy. Don't take that for granted now. Don't take it for granted. So I just want to see how it's all gonna play out, Floyd.
I just, well, come September, we will see how the appointment for Mrs. Shaw replacement, would be. And like I said, in Rumorville, it indicated that if another person comes on that is similar to Porter and Davis, we in zip code 301, which is
Where's
which is a unique service area for PWC.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are the one that sort of we are the one that carry PWC
High
personally.
consumption. High consumption.
Yes. So
And
we will see.
low like our we don't now I'm not gonna say we don't because I do. I have new windows. So we have a more economical house. But a lot of people, these older houses are not economical. Just as soon as your air turns on, it's flowing out your door. It's flowing out the cracks in your windows. It's you don't have good insulation in your household. Maybe people are not aware of the time of use. So they using the dryer at 4:30 in the afternoon when that's the highest time to use it. Like high consumption.
Well, that's why I just want to see, and the first income will be the first name that appears, and that's what I'll be looking for.
And the only person that's running for mayor that I've heard come out and publicly say, I do not support the sale of PWC, who do you think that person is?
That's been Fred.
It was Charles Evans.
Charles said that.
Charles said that.
That's good.
Now I'd like to get him on our program on record saying that.
Well, we invited Charles to come on when he was
And
running
he
for
didn't
mayor.
come.
He didn't come.
I'm not look, I don't get no more one-on-ones because you can't do us dirty now. You just can't do us dirty.
So we just I'll just want to see again in September how would that appointment process start off.
Absolutely. Now you mentioned September. You've said September about 3 or 4 times, and I know why you're saying that, but let's move to North Carolina, the state. Okay. What is interesting about September and at the state of North Carolina that we talked about this morning?
Well, there would be no budget.
No budget.
There would be
What
no
does that
budget.
mean? What does that mean? Because when we say we don't have a budget, we don't want people to freak out and think that the government employees won't get paid. What does that mean?
Well, the government employee is going to get paid. The government will operate off the previous year biennial budget.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get paid. You just won't see the growth. For instance, the last year budget was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 billion. This year, the budget is $27.9 billion. And
Mm-hmm.
so you see that there's a gap of maybe
What
uh,
happens with the gap, Floyd? If they don't make a budget, what happens with that extra money?
well, the gap is going to go to me. The gap is going to go into a reserve per se.
So it's
Uh,
it's gonna roll over for next year.
yeah, because you can't be able to spend if you miss 9 years of 9 months. I'm sorry, 3 months of appropriation expenditure.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make those things up. For instance, like a personnel position that's simply that or a piece of equipment or whatnot. If you
Right.
buy within X, it's gonna take you between 0 to 90 to 120 days to get that piece of property or that vehicle, whatever, or
Right.
that person, in place. And then again, see, it takes time to put the budget in place in place and also to make sure that the personnel receive their raises whatever date that they set it up. So
Okay.
that's a
Okay.
process. That's a process
Mm-hmm.
there. So it's gonna be hard. So that means
What
that
are the sticking points, Floyd, for this budget? What are the what is the where's the contention?
well, you might see for those emergencies, you might see some mini appropriation bills, and that went back to the previous to I think it was 2019 2020 budget,
Okay.
when the governor vetoed the budget, but he signed over 10 mini appropriation bills.
Which
So
made
at
the
the
veto.
time,
Yeah, it was like what? Right.
so why veto the budget?
Right.
We had
Right.
a better chance to get health care coverage at that particular point in time because there was not a veto proof. So if he vetoed any mini appropriation bill, they simply going to be overridden
Mm-hmm.
this particular budget year. So, it's that we need to have a budget. State employees and retirees and everybody wants whatever percentage uh, of raises that they want. As an example, state employees want a 5% this year, 5% next year, and a 5% bonus. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not likely going to happen this budget year.
Okay.
Plus, it's a 3-day bill, so it's a process that's going to take place. And once that report is made, they're not you won't be able to amend the conference report. You can either vote it up or vote it down.
You remember last year, either last year or the year before, when Tim Moore came on our podcast and he told us that they was gonna have plenty of money.
Yes.
I remember that too. I look and I was like, say it again. I need to make sure we get you saying this again.
That's what we call projection and having a physical staff in place that can give you that. It's simply a projection so
Right.
that you can look at how you can do your expenditures over a period of time.
But Floyd, this the thing. I think that the money is there. I just think that there's disagreement on how to spend it. And I think when we talk about the state budget, I think that's the thing that we're running into is that disagree. It's the politicking of it. So we can't get to a budget because of the politicking of it, not because there's no money.
Teach that's politics. I mean, what we have to realize is the same way that we talked about PWC. You have to be present in order to serve.
Yeah.
And those persons who are on that conferee committee, they are looking at something, whatever that's a sticking point that they have that they want. If it's casino or
Yeah.
if it's school projects or roads or industries or whatever,
It's
there's some
something.
sticking points that they're saying that I need to get some type of compromise on
Mm-hmm.
this for me to sign off on this budget. And
Mm.
those are a few group of people, maybe 3 or 4 on the Senate side and maybe 12 on the House side that is hammering out this budget. And then again, when you look at it, you got the one of the Senate budget writers want medical marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to be heard on the House side. I'm not saying that that's a sticking point, but it is a major concern that he wants to see in North
Right.
Carolina.
And that's where we're seeing the negotiations come in at is those extra is again, it's not the money, it's all the other politicking part, which I mean, I get it. I understand. Speaking of Tim
But
Moore,
we
Tim
don't
Moore,
get it, though, Tish. But our community don't understand that politics is simply one word: negotiation.
negotiation.
It's one word. But we don't see
Yeah.
that. As an
The
example,
art, listen, you always said politics is about the art of negotiation.
that's all that it is, T.
Yeah.
I mean, those representatives, whoever, is first represent a district. That's why they say district.
Right.
Okay. Mayor, the whole city. So his or her vision is different.
Then you say
My
the caucus.
concern,
You said the district, then the caucus, right?
yeah,
And then you say conscience district caucus.
yeah, yeah. That's the key thing that make things work. But for us as Democrats, they prefer for you to hold the line, even if the water is coming up over your head.
They
Okay.
say hold your nose. No, we don't have no life vest. Just hold your nose.
But that's the problem.
But look, they want you to vote and then die. That's what they want you to do. Vote and die. It's all right. We're gonna get what we want.
That's our problem. That's our problem.
Yeah.
Until we look at that.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
we look at that, we in the last 2 cycles, the just about $500 million in tax money. But they voted me out because I wanted million. They voted Kurt out because he bought in 400 million.
Yeah.
But we want to run with the big boys,
Yeah.
but we have a Chihuahua mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, so Tim Moore made an announcement.
What Tim that I served 5 terms, I'm no longer going to seek a sixth term.
Now
So
let's clarify. We're not saying that he's not going to run for office.
yeah, there's some things. Some say he may run for U.S. House seat, and then again, Tim, by virtue of being the speaker for 5 terms, can be a excellent lobbyist.
So do you think that is he not going to run again for his seat in the House? He's just, or is he just not going to seek to be the speaker again?
Well, he has an option. It's sort of hard when I was the
I
person,
know when you was in
and
charge.
then
Yeah.
I come back to my seat, which is House seat number 20, 110.
Right.
When I can go out and be a lobbyist and make millions,
Millions and millions of dollars.
he has a skill. Or I could become a U.S. representative and be among, what is it, 475 or that number.
Listen, and then still make millions, because for some reason, when people go to Washington, D.C., they start off 100,000aires and they end up millionaires, multimillionaires by the time it's all said and done. Go
Well,
figure.
I mean, so, and then again, he's an attorney. And so
He
his
could
law
practice.
firm, his law firm then can become a lobbyist. A lobby entity. So,
Well, I look forward to seeing what comes next from Tim Moore. I know that you had indicated that Dan Bishop is considering, he threw his name in the hat as a candidate for Attorney General.
Attorney General,
Who else have we seen enter that race, Mr. Floyd?
that's let's say he is the only one that I know of at this
That has come
particular
forward.
point a time. Dan Bishop, is the U.S. Representative out of the
Hmm.
Mecklenburg area there. So I don't know why he was one of the sticking points as relates to the U.S. House Speaker. There, he was a group, over here that was somewhat opposed to the Speaker of the House there. So
Hmm.
it's very interesting, but yet still on the governor's side, Lieutenant Governor Robertson is still the out front runner, and he is raising. He's not doing pretty good now. Farwell loaned his
You said
campaign
he's
$1
not
million.
doing good, or he's doing good.
He is doing good
Well,
as it
and
relates to the front runner.
let me tell you why, Mr. Floyd, and y'all know I like to say that she said it here first. But let me tell you why. When it comes down to Lieutenant Governor Robinson, he's just straight no chaser. And just like how I said about Charles Evans, how Charles Evans is the guy who's like, look, here is my, let me go get my laundry basket. Let me lay it on the front lawn. Here's my dirty laundry. And now what? That to me is like Lieutenant Governor Robinson is the guy who says, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think and how I feel. I'm not going to back down from it. I'm not, and you don't have to agree with me. People are hungry for that because we want to know, like all of this. Let me tell this group over here this, and then let me go over here and tell this group. Let me tell, and then let me finesse this to where it sounds like this over here. But then, because I know these people not listening to, we sick of that. Like if you are who you are, be who you are and stop being who you not, because we just want to be able to know who are you at this point, who are you? And we also, the vast majority, that's why I said Democrats need to work on their messaging. If there was a Democrat candidate that came forward and stood against a lot of this stuff that is being forced upon people's children, that Democratic candidate would probably go a lot farther. They would probably have an opportunity to have a larger platform, because people are not as ignorant as some folks seem to think. And we are not as accepting of our children being indoctrinated, as some folks tend to think. And so when you have somebody who stands up and says, "No, I'm going to fight for these kids," you can overlook a lot of other stuff, especially if you have these kids. So I think Lieutenant Governor Robinson has a good shot. And I think that unless something really devastating happens, or unless somebody gets in the race that has a similar disposition and can stand and just go toe to toe about some of these issues, I don't think we're going to see his momentum diminish. I don't know
I mean,
that he will be the next governor, but I don't know that he won't be the next governor, if that makes sense.
I'm saying that, you know, by virtue of him being a minority,
He's automatically going to pull that vote.
he's going to pull some
Yeah.
of the minorities, and then in the last election, I think Donald Trump pulled about just close to 12% of the minority vote here in
Because
North.
North Carolina is a red state. I don't care what y'all say. It's got some blue spots in it, but it is a red state.
Well, we are a red state because when you get outside of the metropolitan areas,
That's it.
you know, we are basically red. So I say to people, you got to look at your offense. You cannot run that California offense
Can't do it.
in rural North Carolina. You got to
Cannot
look at
do it.
how you can how you can get that rural vote, and that's what the Democrat Party need. We need to get some of the rural North Carolina vote.
Y'all don't speak the language.
No, it's not even don't speak the language, Chief. I mean,
Y'all
but
don't
when
speak
you
the
look at
language.
it, no,
Y'all
but
don't
when you
speak the
look at
language. Y'all speak California. Y'all don't speak rural North Carolina. Y'all don't know how to get a message that resonates with the farmer, or that resonates with the homeschooling mom, or y'all don't know. Y'all don't speak the language because your party is too busy trying to be progressive.
yeah, that's my point. I'm saying, and we all agree is that we got to change that. We got we got to change that if we want to get some of rural North Carolina vote. But if you look at the voting data, it's the Democrat unaffiliated and the Republican. But we have two U.S. senators that are Republican.
Republican. We have a Republican lieutenant governor. We have a Republican Supreme Court. We have a Republican House. Yeah, come on now.
But I'm just saying, see, the unique thing about it, Tish, is that on the November ballot, we all get the same ballot.
Hmm.
And so a lot of my Democrat friends that are Democrat carrying friends
They're
vote
conservative.
Republican.
They're conservative.
Yeah, but vote
They are
Republican in
conservative.
November.
Absolutely.
So that's the one that we got to say, you know, how can we keep you in our party to help us win from the national and state level and
I
local
I
level?
just I'm telling you, and y'all ain't even have to pay me for it, but I'm telling you, change your message because your message doesn't resonate. And a lot of people are sick of it, and especially us minority women, we are sick of the fact that other segments of the population have been able to jump on movements that were intended to progress our causes and our people, and we still, many of us are still fighting the same stuff that we've been fighting, and they are like yards and miles and acres ahead of where we are, and we've been at this a long time.
What was the teach as we close? I know you
Go
had,
ahead.
but you have to look at power concede to no one unless a demand is placed
Is
upon it.
made. That's right. Mr. Floyd, last thing you did say last week that we were going to mention something, and we were going to have the scoop if we wouldn't have got so excited talking to Nero. And that was this lawsuit that the sheriff has filed against Beth Woods. We did miss our opportunity to get the scoop, but I do want everybody in listening land to know that Mr. Floyd said it before it hit the newspaper.
Yeah, I mean the sheriff just reached a point with the information that the state auditor was requesting of his agency. So he just filed a countersuit, brought it here, and they want to carry they want to have the case heard in Wake County, and the sheriff want the case heard here in Cumberland County. So we'll wait and see what's going to take place.
Yeah,
It was
I
just
like
too
Ennis
much
right.
of a
I like Ennis. He's been on our program before, and I think he's welcome to come back if ever he decides he wants to, or if ever we invite him, that'd be great. Because I like him. Mr. Floyd, what you want to tell the people before we go?
There's so much good in the worst of us. There's so much bad in the best of us. To who none of us to talk about the rest of us. But get educated in your decision making process.
Absolutely. And I just want to tell everybody Jesus loves you. And even if you feel like don't nobody else care about you, he does. And he's got your best interest at heart. Mr. Floyd, I appreciate you. Everybody like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend, and tell a friend. Remember, September 14th, 6:30 to 8:30 is our candidate forum. We will keep you all posted on how that's going to play out. And listen, y'all don't ever underestimate the power of patience, strategy, and the long game, because it works. And on that note, I'm gonna mute my phone. I'm gonna mute my computer. I'm gonna turn off my camera, and I'm gonna play this outro, and we'll catch y'all next week.